Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Ko Ree, and today I have my good friend Esther with me.
Hi guys, I'm so excited to be here today, especially because Ko Ree promised to blow my mind with some ancient Korean medical secrets.
Well, I hope I can deliver on that promise. Today, we're talking about something that might sound crazy to Western ears, how ancient Korean and Japanese doctors could predict heart attacks just by looking at your earlobe.
Wait, what? My earlobe? You're telling me my ear can predict a heart attack?
I know it sounds wild, but hear me out. There's actually this incredible story from 1998 about an American cardiologist named Dr. Michael Harrison. This guy was a top heart doctor from Johns Hopkins, one of the best hospitals in America.
Oh yeah, Johns Hopkins is like the Harvard of medical schools, right?
Exactly. So this doctor visits a Buddhist monastery in South Korea's Chirisan Mountains. He meets this elderly monk named Master Chungdam who takes one look at him and says, "Your heart will fail within 2 years."
Okay, that's terrifying. What did the doctor do?
He basically laughed it off. The monk wasn't even looking at his chest or checking his pulse. He was just tracing a diagonal line across the doctor's earlobe, this tiny crease that Dr. Harrison had never even noticed.
And let me guess, the monk was right?
18 months later, Dr. Harrison collapsed during surgery. Massive heart attack. That little diagonal crease in his earlobe, what we now call Frank's sign in Western medicine, had been screaming a warning that modern technology couldn't detect.
That's incredible, but also kind of scary. Checking my own earlobes nervously.
Don't worry, I'm not qualified to read your earlobes. But this is just the beginning. Korean traditional medicine has been identifying 4 major warning signs of vascular problems for over 1,000 years. These are signs that most Americans would just brush off as getting older.
Okay, I'm listening. What are these 4 signs?
First one, unexplained fatigue and shortness of breath, but not just regular tiredness. In Korean, we have this specific term, pigunam. It describes a tiredness that affects both your body and your spirit. You can sleep for 10 hours and still feel exhausted.
Oh, I know exactly what you mean. Sometimes I feel tired in my bones, like rest doesn't help at all.
Right. Western medicine often misses this because they focus on physical symptoms, but Korean doctors understood that when your blood vessels start narrowing, your heart works harder, and that creates this unique type of exhaustion that affects your mental clarity and emotional stability too.
That makes so much sense. What's the second sign?
Chest tightness or pain. Now, Americans know about chest pain and heart attacks, but ancient Japanese medicine was way more sophisticated. They identified 7 different types of chest pain, each showing different stages of heart disease.
7 types? We basically just have chest pain or no chest pain.
Yeah, Western medicine is pretty binary sometimes. The Japanese had poetic names for each type. Silk thread pain for early arterial spasms, mountain crushing pain for impending heart attacks. They could predict not just if you'd have heart problems, but when.
That's like having a GPS for heart disease.
Perfect analogy. Third sign is leg pain, numbness or swelling in just one leg. This is what we call gunhak dokpangyang in Korean, intermittent claudication, when you can only walk a certain distance before your legs start hurting.
I've heard of that. My grandmother had circulation problems in her legs.
Exactly. And the fourth sign is really interesting for men specifically, erectile dysfunction. Ancient Korean doctors understood that the penis has tons of tiny blood vessels, so it's like the canary in the coal mine for cardiovascular problems.
So it's not just an embarrassing problem, it's actually an early warning system.
Exactly. Same with memory problems and concentration issues. When blood flow to the brain gets restricted, cognitive function is the first thing to go. Ancient doctors knew this wasn't just aging, it was your blood vessels crying for help.
This is all fascinating, but I have to ask, how accurate were these ancient methods compared to modern medicine?
Get this, a 2019 study from Seoul University and Harvard Medical School followed 3,400 patients for 15 years. People with bilateral diagonal earlobe creases had an 89% chance of developing serious heart disease within 7 years. That's more accurate than many modern diagnostic tests.
No way! Ancient doctors were better at predicting a heart disease than our high-tech equipment?
In some ways, yes. They were reading patterns that our machines can't detect yet. It's like they had access to a different frequency of information.
Speaking of different methods, didn't you mention something about Japanese finger pressure techniques?
Oh yes, Shiatsu. Most Americans think it's just a relaxing massage, but it actually comes from samurai warriors. These guys needed to detect cardiovascular weakness because a weak heart in battle meant death.
Wait, samurai invented Shiatsu? I thought it was just spa stuff.
Yeah, Americans have definitely commercialized it. But originally, samurai developed this technique called Ketsueki no Uta, the Song of Blood. They could place their fingers on pressure points and literally listen to the quality of blood flow.
That sounds almost supernatural.
I know it sounds mystical, but there's real science behind it. In 1987, a traditional Shiatsu master demonstrated this technique to Western cardiologists. Using only his fingertips, he correctly identified 94% of patients with significant coronary artery disease.
That's as good as modern technology.
Right? And here's something that'll really blow your mind. Traditional Korean and Japanese food choices. You know how Americans are always looking for the latest superfood?
Guilty as charged. Last month it was acai berries. This month it's some seed I can't pronounce.
Well, Koreans have been eating taro root for cardiovascular health for over 2,000 years. We mix it with wheat flour and ginger juice. For the longest time, Western scientists thought it was just folk medicine nonsense.
Let me guess. They were wrong.
Completely wrong. In 2018, a UC Berkeley biochemist analyzed the traditional Korean taro preparation. The slimy compounds that make Westerners go, ew, actually contain powerful anti-inflammatory agents that specifically target arterial plaque formation.
So you're telling me that the gross texture is actually the medicine?
Exactly. The traditional preparation creates a synergistic effect that rivals modern cardiovascular medications. Patients who ate traditional taro preparation 3 times a week for 6 months showed a 31% reduction in arterial inflammation.
Okay, what about Japan? Please tell me they weren't just eating raw fish and calling it medicine.
Well, sashimi is pretty healthy, but actually, I want to talk about okra. Americans barely eat okra except maybe in the South, but Japanese families have been using it as diabetes medicine for 400 years.
Okra for diabetes? I always thought it was just slimy vegetables.
There's that slimy thing again. The Japanese call it neba-neba medicine, sticky medicine. They eat it first thing in the morning on an empty stomach, facing east toward the rising sun.
That sounds very ritualistic.
It does, but the timing is actually scientifically optimal. Your stomach's pH is most alkaline when you wake up, which maximizes extraction of okra's beneficial compounds. A 2020 study found that 67% of pre-diabetic patients who ate traditional okra preparations showed complete reversal of their condition.
Complete reversal? That's incredible.
And here's the really mind-blowing part. There's this ancient practice called Jinshin Jutsu. It identifies 26 specific points on your body that are like energy gates. By holding certain combinations of these points, practitioners claim they can predict cardiovascular problems years before symptoms appear.
Okay, now you're venturing into territory that sounds a little too mystical for me.
I get it. I was skeptical too. But Stanford University actually studied this. They used bioelectric imaging technology to map these 26 points, and guess what? They corresponded exactly to locations where the body's bioelectrical field showed maximum conductivity.
So there's actual electrical activity at these points?
Yes. And disruptions in electrical flow at these points preceded cardiovascular problems by an average of 18 months. The ancient masters were basically mapping the body's electrical system 5,000 years before we invented the EKG.
That's actually pretty amazing. What about that pulse diagnosis you mentioned earlier?
Oh, Korean pulse diagnosis is incredible. Well, Western doctors mainly check if your heart rate is normal. Korean traditional medicine recognizes 28 distinct pulse qualities. Each one reveals different aspects of cardiovascular health.
28 different pulse types? We basically have normal and not normal.
Yeah, Western medicine could learn some subtlety. Korean doctors can feel patterns like flowing stream pulse for perfect health, rough stone pulse for early arterial disease, or dying candle pulse for impending heart failure.
And they can actually feel these differences?
A 2019 study showed that Korean traditional medicine practitioners could predict stroke risk with 91% accuracy using pulse diagnosis alone. That's more accurate than many Western screening tools.
I'm starting to think we've been missing out on some serious medical knowledge.
We really have. And here's something else that might surprise you. Tongue diagnosis. Korean doctors can predict cardiovascular events just by looking at your tongue.
My tongue sticks out tongue and tries to look at it?
You can't diagnose yourself, but your tongue has one of the richest capillary networks in your body. Changes in blood circulation show up there weeks or even months before they appear in larger vessels.
So my tongue is like a preview of what's happening in my heart?
Exactly. Korean medicine recognizes 47 different tongue presentations. A storm cloud tongue with thick coating means dangerous inflammation. A purple thunder tongue shows venous congestion. These changes showed up 14 months before blood tests or EKGs detected problems.
14 months? Early warning? That's like having a crystal ball.
Right? And you know what's really interesting? Even something as simple as green tea ceremony in Japan is actually sophisticated cardiovascular medicine disguised as cultural practice.
Really? I just thought tea ceremony was about being zen and mindful.
It is, but there's so much more. The specific water temperature, 70 to 80 degrees Celsius, maximizes extraction of heart protective compounds. The whisking technique increases bioavailability by 340%. The meditative ritual reduces stress hormones.
So when I'm rushing to drink my green tea latte on the way to work, I'm doing it all wrong.
Pretty much. A Japanese study followed over 90,000 people for 18 years. Traditional tea ceremony practitioners had 63% lower risk of cardiovascular death compared to casual tea drinkers.
Wow. So the ritual itself is part of the medicine.
Exactly. The Japanese understood that how you consume something is just as important as what you consume. It's about creating optimal conditions for your body to receive the medicine.
This is all really fascinating, Ko Ree, but I have to ask, why don't Western doctors use these techniques if they're so accurate?
That's changing, actually. Remember Dr. Harrison, the cardiologist from our opening story? He now integrates Eastern diagnostic techniques with Western medical practice at Johns Hopkins. His clinic offers pulse diagnosis and tongue assessment alongside traditional cardiac testing.
So we're finally bridging that gap between ancient wisdom and modern medicine.
We're starting to. Dr. Harrison says he spent 30 years learning to read EKGs and echocardiograms, but it took an elderly monk 30 seconds to see what all his technology couldn't detect.
That's pretty humbling realization.
It really is. The ancient healers understood something we're just rediscovering, that the human body is an integrated system where every part communicates with every other part. Your earlobe talks to your heart. Your tongue reflects your circulation. Your pulse tells your life story.
It's like our bodies are constantly sending us messages, but we've forgotten how to read them.
Exactly. These diagnostic techniques aren't primitive guesswork. They're sophisticated technologies for detecting patterns too subtle for mechanical instruments, but perfectly obvious to human-trained perception.
So what's the takeaway for our viewers? Should they be running to find a traditional Korean medicine practitioner?
Well, that wouldn't hurt, but I think the main message is to pay attention to your body's subtle signals. Don't dismiss unexplained fatigue as just stress. Notice changes in your energy levels, your breathing, your mental clarity.
And maybe check out those earlobes in the mirror.
Sure, but don't panic if you see a crease. The point is that our bodies are incredibly intelligent and constantly communicating their condition. We just need to learn to listen.
This has been absolutely mind-blowing, Ko Ree. I feel like I've learned more about cardiovascular health in the past 20 minutes than in years of regular doctor's visits.
That's the power of ancient wisdom. These healing traditions represent thousands of years of careful observation and accumulated knowledge. We're not saying abandon Western medicine, we're saying complete it with the wisdom of the past.
I love that. Completing rather than replacing.
Exactly. And who knows, maybe the next time you visit your doctor, you can ask them to check your pulse the Korean way or take a look at your tongue. You might teach them something new.
I can see that conversation now. Doctor, can you read my tongue like a Korean medicine master?
Hey, stranger things have happened. The important thing is that we stay curious and open to different ways of understanding health and healing.
Absolutely. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this journey into ancient cardiovascular wisdom as much as I did. If you learned something new today, make sure to like and subscribe.
And let us know in the comments, have you ever noticed any of these subtle signs in your own body? Do you have experience with traditional Asian medicine? We'd love to hear your stories.
Thanks for watching, everyone. And remember, your body is always talking to you. The question is, are you listening?
Until next time, take care of yourselves and pay attention to those amazing bodies of yours. See you soon.
Bye.